Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
You have failed this city.
Wow. I know, right?
Maybe.
Tonight. What gives you the right? What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
What's going on, everybody? I accidentally had the video up and playing, and I was hearing it like multiple times in my headset. I was all kind of thrown off there. Sorry about that. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Watchtower, where we talk all things DC. With me today, I've got Joe from Crazy Joe's Concession, right? Is that
Crazy
what it is?
Joe's Concession Stand and
Yeah.
Crazy Joe Adventures, but I haven't really updated that in a while.
Yeah. So what's going on? I'm glad to see everybody back here today, and we have some things to talk about in the DC realm. And Joe, I'm glad that you're here to have someone to bounce these things off of. But I do want to get to know you a little bit because honestly, I mean, I've seen you in the chat. I've talked with you here and there. What gets you so excited about DC? Why are you? Well, first off, why did you even want to be on the show? And what is it that gets you excited about DC?
Well, ultimately, my main love is movies. I just love movies. In fact, when we're done here, I'm going to the movies. Not just DC. I just love movies, and so I love talking about movies. And when it comes to superheroes, you know, I was raised on superheroes. Like I'm 49 years old. If you take a look at when I was coming up, we had Christopher Reeve in the movies. We had Super Friends on every Saturday morning. Actually, they were on Monday through Friday at that point. I'm watching Super Friend cartoons. One of my first movies was Superman 2. Reruns of Adam West were on every day. So these characters are just, you know, I've loved them as long as I can remember.
Yeah. I'm the same. I mean, I'm not as old as you are, but even I saw the reruns of Super Friends. I saw reruns of Adam West Batman. I was heavily invested in Batman the Animated Series in the 90s. So yeah, I'm the same way when it comes to DC. I'm very much invested with DC for sure. But thank you for joining us. We're going to get into some topics here. I do want to call out some of the people that are here that, hey, always show up to the stream, which I love seeing. Just a guy stopped by. Let's go. Hope for Life was here or is here saying, hey, everyone. Amari is here, says sup. Derpy Entertainment says yo. Derpy, I want to say I apologize. I did not see your message until about 5 minutes ago that you were going live, and you asked me to be part of it. Twitter was acting all wonky. It's still not working right on my Chrome. It works on my Safari, but it's not working on Chrome, so I do apologize. I didn't see that. And Trevon is here saying kryptonite. Here we go. Oh, wait, we got Gabe in here. Gabe Medell says, shout out, question mark, exclamation point. So, what's up, Gabe? All right. So there's a lot of Superman discussion here. We're here for quite a bit. Oh, Derpy just says, I'm just here for my glorious king. Thank you, Derpy. So we got a new look at Oh, wait, that's not a new look. That's an old look. So I gotta love Real Anarchy. He posted this today. He goes, imagine if they never changed the suit. Because everybody just loves to complain about the suit. Now, this is from one of the parades back probably in the 40s. And this is what Superman looked like back then. Like, this is nuts. This is nuts. Like, that is crazy looking of what Superman looked like. And just over the years, the reason why I wanted to highlight this from Real Anarchy is because he does make a good point here is over the years, Superman has changed. His suit has changed. Everything about him in many ways has changed over the years. Now, granted, in the last probably 10, 15 years, maybe more, maybe 20 years, his powers really haven't changed. That's all pretty much stayed the same over that course of time. Definitely probably more than 20 years. but his suits have changed, his look has changed, and it adapts over time. The New 52 is different from the what we got later on in Rebirth, and then we have what we had in Superman Returns, what we had in the Man of Steel and the DCEU. I mean, we have different iterations and things that look different, and some people like what we get, sometimes we don't like what we get. Sometimes we have writers who write Superman comics that just don't land with everybody. Sometimes we have artists that depict him in ways that just don't land with everybody. And in a way, I think that's what Real Anarchy was kind of getting at here. Is he's like, look, imagine if they never changed the suit, if it just stayed one way for nearly 100 years. Like, that would be kind of lame. Like, we see different iterations over that time, and that's kind of the beauty of not just Superman, but all comic book characters, all of these characters. We see new inventive iterations where artists and filmmakers and writers can kind of adapt and change these characters in new inventive ways. And that's what I love to see. So when people sit there and complain about what we've gotten, which we haven't gotten much when it comes to James Gunn's Superman, but when they sit there and complain about it, it's like, what's the point? I mean, we had a new version in 2013. We had a version in 2006. We had a version in 2001 with Smallville. We had a version in the mid 90s with Superman and or the Adventures of Lois and Clark. I mean, we have all these different versions. It always changes. It always looks different. It's always going to be different in some form or fashion. What's the point of complaining? That's what I'm getting to. What do you think, Joe? Like, am I onto something here? Is it time for people to just relax?
No, I completely agree. And the thing is, it's like, yeah, minor changes, cosmetic changes. The powers will change slightly. You know, I mean, at one point he could like juggle planets, and they're like, oh, he's a little too strong. Let's dial it back. But
Yeah.
but the thing is, the core of the character, the core of who he is, generally remains the same. And that's the important thing.
Yeah. And again, you know, when it comes to his powers, like you said, he's been depicted as overpowered at times. He's been depicted as weaker at times. You know, at one time, all he could do was leap a building. He couldn't fly. And there were times when he was only as fast as a speeding bullet. And now
the electric era. Do you remember the blue electric era from the 90s?
Yes.
I didn't care for that myself, but
but there's times when things just change and they adapt, and sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. Sometimes it's because the times have changed, because the world is different, and these characters have to adapt to the world around them. And when you take a look at this picture here, that was very on brand for that time frame. Like, that is what you would expect a superhero to look like in that time. That would not work in today's time. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. So when we sit there and we take a look at this image that was an exclusive from Fandango that popped up yesterday, this is Superman of today. That is Superman. It encapsulates heroics, like heroism. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Heroism. You know, it looks like he's, I guess, stoic in a way. I know that's not really the word I want to use, but it does. He puts off a little bit of that. But not just that. He's got the blue. He's got the red. He's got the trunks. He's got the logo, the emblem, the crest on his chest. It's Superman. Like, that picture just encapsulates everything that is Superman. He looks like Superman right there. You can't ask for anything more when you're looking for a picture.
No one's going to mistake who that is.
Exactly. And it is a great, great, great picture. Now, obviously there's people that, you know, call it out and everything like that. What I want to talk about briefly here is, because when I saw this picture drop, I immediately shared it. It was like, this is a great picture. That's all I said, because it is. It's a great picture. Like, it's amazing. I love it. But then I saw people talking about it on social media saying, this should have been the first picture they showed. This is the first picture that should have been showed. So then I reshared it again and I said, yes, this probably should have been the first picture that we got, but we have it now. So who cares? Like, this is great. We have it now. Let's rejoice now. This is the picture we have now. So still, people were talking for nearly 24 hours. This should have been the first picture. So I then went further with it. So here's the first picture that we got. This was the initial picture we got on May 6th, 2024, more than a year ago. This was the initial picture we got of Superman where we saw him fully suited up for this movie. I remember when I saw this, I was like, damn, the suit's awesome. I love the suit. But I was like, I don't think this is the right photo to portray Superman for the first time. That was my issue with it. It wasn't the suit. It wasn't Corn Sweat. It wasn't anything about him putting on his boot. Like, okay, cool. Like, this is a cool shot. I like it. But for me, I sat there and said, this is not the kind of shot that I would want to put out there as the first shot of a movie about Superman. Maybe a second or third shot that you put out there, sure. Not only that, but I thought the background, everything behind him just looked artificial. And that was my take. Now, Gunn explained that this first look was a photo that was taken on set by Jess Miglio and was entirely in camera. And that's what they said. So now nearly an entire year, more than a year later, we get this shot, which is vastly better. Again, I don't think it matters because we're less than a month and a half away from the movie and we're getting this. It's an awesome shot. Let's just focus on the movie. You know, like, let's just get excited about the movie. Sure, the first shot of the first image we got a year ago wasn't great in my opinion. That's probably the biggest issue. I've been upfront about that from the very beginning. But when you get down to it, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care what happened a year ago. I don't think anybody should care what happened a year ago. We're here today. And I think the marketing has improved. It has improved since then. It's improved. They've put out a lot of better shots. They put out really good pictures and photos. And I think it's gotten really good. And it's hyping people up. People are getting excited for this movie.
Yeah. I wouldn't agree with you that personally. I love this shot. This is a great shot. But I personally wouldn't agree that this is a better shot than the other shot. I think that they portray very different things. What we're looking at here is classic superhero Superman. This is Superman looking heroic, and you know, you wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of that guy. But what I like about the other side, the other picture, is that it looks like I feel like this image humanizes him. This is Superman going to work. This is look, he's putting his, you know, it's like, you know, what's the saying? I put my pants on like everyone else. You know, I like that. I like the idea that our first shot was of a humanized Superman. This is the guy who's going off to work to help people. But I think they depict the character in different moments and different feels. So I don't know that I'd say one's better than the other, but I think they're both great shots.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like I said, my biggest issue is that this was the first image we got because I like the image. I think there's some issues with it. Like I said, the background specifically, I think I know it's an in-camera shot. But it just seems off to me. Always has. But when I sit here and think about like the first image that we should see for Superman, for a Superman movie, I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh, let's get him a shot of him putting on his boots, you know, and I'm not sitting here saying like, oh, we should get one just like Zack Snyder did where he's slammed up against a vault. No, like that was good for Zack Snyder's film. I'm not even saying it should be like that, but definitely this here is a great picture because it's showing Superman. This is the heroic Superman. And I think personally to me, this would have been the better type of image. Not this one specifically, but an image like this would have been better because it would have portrayed, look, this is a heroic Superman for this movie. And then, like I said, if the second image or third image, when you're starting to try and remind people that, look, this is going to be a different type of movie where we humanize him for the audience, you show a picture like this. That's how I think that it should have gone. But again, the marketing, the showcasing the photos and things like that have gotten better over the last year. And I'm somebody who thinks that the marketing has been very solid for the entire time, but I think it has gotten a lot better, specifically with the photos, because I think they've done a hell of a job with how they've handled the trailers, the TV spots, and everything like that. But specifically with how they've been releasing photos, I think it's gotten better, especially over the last 2-3 weeks. But yeah, I again, it's not a terrible photo. It's not a bad photo. I just think when it comes to, when you compare it to, like, here's a first photo and here's a photo a month and change out, I would have flopped them. I would have flipped them personally.
I'll tell you something else. I keep hearing a narrative. I won't name names, but you probably know one of the people I heard say this. I keep hearing a narrative that they've gone back and used CGI to fix the suit because we complained and they heard our complaints. This comes from behind the scenes photos we saw. Nothing from the finished film. We saw some behind the scenes photos where the suit was kind of not fitting properly. Mm-hmm. And when I saw those photos, my first thought was, this isn't the movie. This is behind the scenes. This is not how that suit is going to look on camera with the lighting and the, it's no way is it going to look like this. I remember when behind the scenes images of Shazam got out and everybody was mocking the Shazam costume. Then the movie came out and it looked fine. These things never look good in person. There's a lot of, they know how to light them. They know what angles to shoot them from. So I saw that and I always was like, it's not going to look like that in the final film. And now they're going, it reminds me, there was a guy on YouTube years ago who made up this false rumor about Indiana Jones. And he's like, they're going to kill off Indiana Jones and replace him with a woman. And it was not true. And then to cover his butt, a few months later, he's like, they heard our complaints and reshot the ending. And it's like, well, now when the movie comes out, nobody can call you on your BS because you covered your ass just now.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen those posts on specifically on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. I've seen those posts where people are like, oh, look, they're fixing the suit in post, and it's because of what we've been saying. No, you idiots. That's not what's happening. The post has been happening for the last year plus, because they do post while it's filming as well. That stuff's been going on, and they were always going to adjust the suit in post. I mean, that's what they were going to do. Now, are they going to fix all the bagginess to it? No, because that's kind of what gives the suit its charm a little bit. That's what gives it its aesthetic for the type of setting this movie is in. This isn't the suit. This isn't a suit that's supposed to make Superman look like a god, like in Zack Snyder's films. Like, that's why Snyder's films, that's why Henry Cavill's suit is so form-fitting. It makes him look like a god, and you see every little ripple of the muscle, which, remember, that is a muscle suit in there as well. Like, I know Henry Cavill was ripped, don't get me wrong, but there is a muscle padded suit in that suit, within that suit as well. But that's why it looks that way, because he was portraying those heroes as gods, so he wanted them to look like these ripped gods. This Superman isn't supposed to look like that. This is supposed to be a different iteration, which we were just talking about. So yes, it's still going to have some wrinkles. It's going to look a little bit different. It's not going to look as form-fitting as Snyder's did or as others have. That's okay. Like, why is it such a bad thing? Like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand what these people's, why their minds are so like, oh, there's a wrinkle. Wrinkle destroys the movie. Like,
I've never believed, I've been reading Superman comics as long as I can remember. I've never believed that Superman should look like a bodybuilder. Like he should not be that muscle bound, because Superman's strength does not come from muscle. No. It comes from the Earth's yellow sun charging his body. Christopher Reeve was not like a muscle man, you know. Like
He
I mean,
wasn't.
you know, he was in good shape. Like he wasn't like wimpy looking, but he
Yeah, look,
wasn't. Yeah, so
even look at like Tom Welling, look at Brandon Routh. They were they had muscular, they had a good build, but they weren't ripped like Henry Cavill was. They weren't ripped like these big muscle bodybuilders were. They had some good size, and even look at Corn Sweat here. You can tell he's got a good physique under that suit, but it's not about being ripped. It's about having a good physique, so you look like you're hulking out, you're big and strong, but you don't have to have this crazy godlike physique. And I think it looks great. I think this suit is a great looking suit. And again, we know in these movies we'll see multiple suits. That's just how it is in these films. So this is this movie suit. Maybe we get another one by the end of the movie. I've suspected that for months and months, that we're going to see a second suit in this movie. Now, we may not. We may get another one in the follow-up film. Who knows? But eventually we're going to see other suits, and maybe we'll get one that's a little more form-fitting. Maybe we get one that looks more like a bodysuit that's shows more muscular features. Who knows? We'll see what happens as the films go on.
absolutely.
Yeah. But speaking of which, now I know a bunch of people over here are talking, but keeping up on the new looks, we got this here, which I thought was a great new moving poster right here. I think this is great.
Yeah, I dig it.
I love it. And it just starts with Clark Kent holding his glasses, slowly moving down, and it transitions into Superman standing among a crowd of people in the city. And he's holding his tie. It looks like he's removing his tie. I love it. I think it's great. It's again this marketing, this whole idea of, and I stole this from Real Anarchy. If you're still in the chat, Real, thank you. But the marketing, I think, lately has been just top notch.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And, a lot of people were complaining about the marketing at a time when the marketing really hadn't begun yet.
Yeah.
Oh, this movie's being marketed terribly. Well, they haven't really started yet. I mean, it's like I heard people complaining in March and April, and it's like, this is a movie that opens in July.
Exactly.
I'll give you an example of the double standard. I would hear people saying like a month ago, this movie opens in July and we've only had one trailer. Only one trailer. This opens in July. Yet, none of those people were saying the same thing about Fantastic Four and Jurassic Park, both of which also only had one trailer and are also opening in July. Now, all those movies have a second trailer, but at the time I was like, it's funny how your argument is only for Superman and not the other two big films that are opening in the exact same month.
Yeah, I mean, their rebuttal to that I've seen a lot of people rebuttal that what you're saying there as, well, this has to be the biggest movie in Warner Brothers history, or for DC Studios, this needs to be huge, so they need to be pushing this like crazy. And it's what people don't seem to understand is just because it has to be a big movie, you can't change the way you market something, because people's minds, the audience, the general audience's minds, aren't going to see it that way. They're going to see, wow, why are we getting pushed this movie in January, February, March? When is this movie coming out? I'm sick of seeing it. I don't even want to see it. It's been too much. Like they're going to get sick of seeing it. And either, when is this movie coming out? I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't even want to see it because I'm seeing too much stuff about it. Or they're just going to get annoyed and not even remember. It's going to be there so much that they're going to ignore it. And that's the problem. Like, yes, they need to push this movie, but they have to do it in a timely manner, in the right manner, at the right time, because if they do it too early, they risk losing the audience.
There has been evidence showing that starting the marketing too early is a negative, because sometimes people forget about it.
Yeah,
it's been it gets I thought this already came out. That becomes weren't they advertising that? I thought this movie was already out.
And that is yeah, exactly. I mean, that has happened. I see you in there, Sean. I see you. And you say Revenge of the Sith was a year long. That was 2005. That was 20 years ago.
I got to
Things
tell
are
you,
different.
Sean. I love Sean. Sean and I, we do a lot of streams together. He's a great guy, but I do still hold a grudge on him because he almost spoiled the Flash for me last year. but seriously, I love Sean.
What else? Anybody saying anything else here? Hope for Life says, I think this poster is perfection. Little Homelander right there. That's what I'm thinking. Homelander meme. Let's see. What else do we got?
Do you mind? This is your show, Slav. I don't want to step on any toes. Do you mind if I address the chat for just a second?
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever you want.
I just want to say to Donovan, Donovan, I know you don't like Sean. I know you don't like Matt Jarbo. I know these guys. They're good. They're good guys. They're nice guys. You may disagree with them on movies. They're not bad people. They're good people. I mean, you don't have to believe me. Take my word for it or not, but I'm telling you, I vouch for these guys. They're good. They're good dudes. I don't agree with them all the time either, but they're not bad people. But anyway.
All right. So let me know what you guys think about the new look of Superman that we got from Fandango. Let me know what you guys think about the moving poster. I think they're both great. And look, we're getting new things every day. We got the toys that came out, the toy commercials that have come out. So we're getting so much stuff every single day. It's exciting. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below about all that. I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right. Now, I don't know if you know this, but James Gunn has apparently confirmed the timeline for what's been going on with the DCU. Now, this is coming from Superhero Hype. It says Superman director James Gunn has recently confirmed the DCU timeline by sharing the order of release for their projects that are coming in the future. After taking over the position of co-CEO and chairman with Peter Safran, he conveyed that the rebooted DC's first chapter will be titled Gods and Monsters. They shared in a press conference back in 2023 that they plan to create a proper cinematic universe at DC with a 2-chapter plan. The DCU's timeline follows release order with Superman and other projects. So it says the Suicide Squad director recently shared information about the DCU timeline with the chronological order in which the projects will release in the future. A user on Threads asked Gunn on HBO Max, will you create a DCU timeline like how Disney Plus has one for the MCU so you can watch in chronological order? To this, he replied, as of now, it's basically as the movies and shows come out. Although, of course, some of these feature flashbacks, Creature Commandos, Superman, Peacemaker, Lanterns, Supergirl. Moreover, Blue Beetle, which came out in 2023, is also part of the DCU timeline as confirmed by Gunn previously. In a Threads post in September 2023, he was questioned by a fan about whether Blue Beetle is canon in the DCU. Gunn addressed these doubts and replied, Zolo will continue playing Blue Beetle in the DCU, as Viola Davis will Amanda Waller, and John Cena will Peacemaker. Moreover, according to a report by Collider, while announcing the plans for the DCU in January 23, Gunn stated that they are not doing what some TV shows have done. We're not making it up as we go along. He further added that he and Safran have crafted an 8 to 10 year plan for DCU, which is the 2 chapters. There's an ending to our basic story that we tell there, but it's not the ending of the universe. So let me ask you, Joe. Does this make sense to you? Is it clear enough for you? Is it clear enough, do you think, for the audience?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's the job of any movie. It is the job of any movie or any TV show to let the audience know what they need to know. So if something is taking place in another time period, it's the job of that project to let us know that. So I think it just makes sense that you go into all these projects assuming that they're happening in a sequential order, unless they tell you otherwise. And I think they will. If it says in the bottom of the corner of the screen, 1942, well, then this isn't taking place after Superman.
Yeah, exactly. And again, honestly, this is pretty much what Marvel did. And I know, oh no, comparing it to Marvel, how dare you? Oh! I mean, it's basically what Marvel did. I mean, every movie, basically, with the exception of Captain America, took place in pretty much order. I mean, when they first started. And that makes sense. I mean, you do that just to make it simple for the people jumping in the beginning. Plus, it's simple for the storytellers. Like, let's just make it as easy as possible, and you keep it going just as easy as you can do it. And then once you get 6, 7 deep, projects deep, then you can start saying, you know what, this would be really cool as a period piece prior to everything. This would be really cool if this actually happened between Superman and Peacemaker, or Superman and this movie. This would be cool if this happened here. And then you can go back after so long and do that. That way, people are already invested. They know the universe, and it's easier for them to accept those types of things happening. So I think it is a really good idea. And when it comes to Blue Beetle, again, he, even as it says here, they try to sit here and say Blue Beetle, which came out in 2023, is also part of the DCU timeline, confirmed by Gunn. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say the Blue Beetle movie is canon. He says Zolo's Blue Beetle will be in the DCU. He doesn't say the Blue Beetle movie. He's never said the Blue Beetle movie is part of the DCU. All he has ever said is that Zolo's Blue Beetle is in the DCU. He said Zolo's Blue Beetle is the first character in the DCU. Zolo's Blue Beetle will be in the DCU. That's all he's ever said. He's never said. I think I've actually remember him saying that the first movie in the DCU is Superman. Because if Blue Beetle was part of the DCU, that would have been the first movie in the DCU.
Well,
so
I keep telling everybody, we're looking at a Flashpoint situation. Flash in Flashpoint changed the timeline. Some things stayed the same, some things didn't. There were little changes. We're in a situation now where any characters he wants to bring back, whether it be Peacemaker, whether it be Blue Beetle, we're not beholden to the canon that went before. He can pick and choose.
Mm-hmm.
He could be like, this happened. He really, I'm trying to remember something from the Blue Beetle movie. He really did this thing from the Blue Beetle movie. That happened. But something he doesn't like, he can write it out if he wants.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, we'll see how it happens. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm just, saying, like, a lot of people, look, I love the Blue Beetle movie, and I think the Blue Beetle movie could actually fit into the DCU. I think it could with no issues. Even if they want to say, oh, actually, this Blue Beetle movie actually took place, you slide that in, bloop, right here after Supergirl. Oh, there you go. Fits. There, done and done. Whatever. That's fine with me. I like the movie. Make it fit wherever. But it is what it is. Like, I'm fine with however he handles it. Like I said, my problem, I've had two problems. My two biggest problems with James Gunn since he's taken over were, one, I think he should have just rebooted everything from the beginning. Even though I like Zolo, even though I like the Blue Beetle movie, I think, look, he should have just said, you know what? Sorry, Zolo, you did great. Unfortunately, we have to move on. Same with John Cena and Peacemaker. Should have just moved on from that stuff. And number two was the first poster, which we just talked about a little bit ago. Those are my two biggest issues that I've seen from him over this time. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you just move on and you accept it. Like, you either accept it or you don't. And I just accepted it because those aren't that big of issues.
Yeah.
You just kind of move on.
I was the exact opposite. I was actually happy he wasn't throwing certain things out. I said, you don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If something works, I'm more than happy to see it stick around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever. I mean, to each his own. Everybody has a differing opinion, and that's okay. Like, it is what it is. Like, to me, like I said, like, that's a very interesting way to say that. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's very interesting, kind of scary, but.
And you may remember, what is it, Casino Royale? That was.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm not a James Bond fan, but
how dare you?
I never have been. But Casino Royale was a reboot, right?
None of
the James Bond movies that
except
went
for M.
Yeah, they brought her back, even though it was a new canon, new continuity.
But it's Dame Judi Dench. Come on. You don't just throw out Dame Judi Dench. Come on. Come on. No, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean, for sure. I get you. All right. Real quick, I'm going to throw up a quick, small little ad here. Not long at all, guys. I'm sorry. I do got to do this, but quick, small ad, and we'll get into the next couple topics. Guys, I want to talk to you about nsaberscom. I was lucky enough to partner with them and talk about some of their cool lightsabers that they offer. This one here is one of two that comes in a package called the Twins. This is an awesome lightsaber. It's got some great features, different colors, different sound effects, and things like that. But nsaberscom offers a plethora of different types of sabers and prices as well. Some as low as like $99 up to like $800. Some that are great for dueling, some that are great for conversation pieces that sit on your mantle or on your shelf. But I encourage you all to check out nsaberscom. Use my code SLAVSFT for an additional 7% off on any of the crazy deals that they have going on right now to get a great lightsaber. All right, guys. Thanks. Yeah, check out N-Sabers.
That. Yeah, you got sponsorship, man. Look at that. I think I've been at this longer than you. I don't have any sponsors. Way to go.
Hey, I do what I do. I do what I do. No, yeah. So yeah, check out nsaberscom. It's actually really cool. They're in the kitchen right now. They're pretty cool. The lightsabers are pretty awesome. So check them out. They got some great deals, and you can get, if you want a lightsaber, they have some pretty cheap ones that are really awesome. I have a whole video reviewing them also on my channel. You can see me messing with them and fighting with my son, one of my sons, on there as well. So check it out and pick up one. Use my code, and you can get some extra money off as well. So pretty cool. All right. So I want to ask you this. Look, if you watch my channel, you know I'm not a big scooper guy. I don't typically talk about scoopers, but this one's interesting because we know that there's a Teen Titans movie coming up. And APOC Horseman says Tim Drake is rumored to be leading the Teen Titans in the DCU. However, it's still undecided and unknown at this time. What the hell does that even mean? Like, it's rumored, but it's undecided and unknown. What?
Well, my take on scoopers is I don't trust any of them at all. No. To the point where if like a scooper came out and said, I hear Crazy Joe really loves his daughter, I'd start questioning whether my kids are that good. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about this? I'm gonna do this real quick. What do you think? Do you think, because we know that the Bat family should be established, pretty much established in the DCU, especially if Damian Wayne's going to be popping up. You know, if the Brave and the Bold is actually going to be the Batman and that they're doing with Damian and Bruce Wayne, that means that Dick Grayson is probably going to be older. He's probably going to be Nightwing at that time, which means they're going to have gone through a couple Robins, you would think. You know, right. I mean, do we get to a Jason Todd? Do we go through a Tim Drake? Do we get, like, where are we going with these Robins here? If we're going to get all the way to a Damian, you think, now they could change up the story a little bit. We've talked about this in the past on my channel, that they don't need to stick to the story of going through each individual Robin to get all the way to Damian. But what do you think? Do you think it's a good idea to pretty much just throw Dick Grayson to Nightwing and just skip his whole being a Robin and just go all the way to having a Tim Drake Robin? Do you like that idea?
It depends on one thing. Are they doing Teen Titans or are they doing Titans? If the movie is Titans, then I think you should have Dick Grayson as the leader as Nightwing. But if we're introducing Damian Wayne, then I feel like I don't think you need to have all the Robins, but I mean, you could skip Jason Todd. You don't need to have Stephanie Brown in there, but I think the three main, like the three most popular Robins are Dick, Tim, and Damien. Those are the ones I think everyone likes the most.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if they're doing Teen Titans and we've already got a Damien, then it kind of makes sense to me that, well, Dick shouldn't be a teen anymore at that point. So Tim Drake would make sense, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like I would like to see Dick Grayson done properly on the screen. No shade thrown at Chris O'Donnell. No shade thrown at him. He did the best he could in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't had a Dick Grayson on screen since then. Like, think about it. Like, I would like to see the evolution of Dick Grayson from, an orphan coming under the tutelage of Bruce Wayne, becoming Robin, their relationship being as broken as it becomes, and him going to become Nightwing. Like, we saw bits and pieces of that in the Titans show. We did. The Titans show was okay. The first two seasons, first season was kind of rough. Second season was better, and then after that, I kind of fell off.
Yeah.
And we saw bits of that in there. But on the big screen, I would love to see that. I would love to see the growth of Dick Grayson become Nightwing. Like, that's what I would love to see. So, like, to me, I feel kind of gypped not getting to experience that. And again, don't get me wrong. I was excited and still am excited to see Damian Wayne, because it's like, just like I said the other day about seeing the Engineer and Rick Flag and Ultraman and Superman on the screen. Like, whoever thought you would see that? I never thought we'd ever see Damian Wayne on the big screen. Like, what's the chances of that ever happening?
Yeah.
But, I feel it's like Dick Grayson is the most well-known Robin. And you're just going to kind of skip over that for probably who is the most or the least known Robin. A lot of people don't know that Bruce Wayne has a son and he does become a Robin. Like, sure,
right.
Geeks know this, but the audience doesn't. The general audience doesn't. So, heck, the general audience probably doesn't know about Jason Todd or Tim Drake or Stephanie Brown or any of the other ones.
I'll give you my hot take as the father of two girls. I'd rather see Stephanie Brown, but I know I'm in the minority on that, because my daughters would love that.
I got 3 girls, 3 boys. I don't think they care. So
my oldest daughter definitely does. So.
But I mean, when you get down to it, I think honestly, I just want good story.
Right.
Yeah, I think when all is said and done, I would like to see Dick Grayson. Sure, I would love to see that story play out, and we still could at some point. Like, I still think that an awesome movie idea would be a Nightwing movie or a Nightwing TV show, similar to that of what they did with Daredevil on Netflix, and really just dive deep into his conflict within and why he became Nightwing. And you could do great flashbacks there, and you could do that story in that way. So that would work. But then you're looking at Jason Todd, then you're looking at Tim Drake, and how did they get there? Like, and where did Tim Drake come from? Like, why is he a Robin? And how did he get there? How did we get from Dick Grayson to Tim Drake? Was there anything in between? And what happened to him or her? There's so much story there that it seems like they're just going to skip over. And it just, to me, it's like, come on. Like, the Jason Todd story is a beloved story by so many. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, we've seen that story done in video games how many times, become the Red Hood and all that stuff, sure. But we've never seen it on the big screen. And imagine that. Even if we see Jason Todd and then it doesn't, like, the story doesn't culminate within 1 or 2 movies. It takes a while to happen, but just knowing it's happening at some point, like, that would be exciting to see. So again, it's just, I don't know. Again, like we said, you got to take what scoopers say with a grain of salt. You can't just rely on everything, and believe what they say. But
by the way, Sean O'Rourke's right. He says I'd rather see a female Robin, but they will call it a gender swap. They will, even if it's a character well established in the comics. That's where it'll go.
They would say Stephanie Brown. Who's this? I've never heard of that before. They're just making something up. That's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just like Silver Surfer.
What is this? D-Man 7. Chris O'Donnell plays Batman with a young Damian. Everything comes full circle. No. Go away.
Whatever happened to Chris O'Donnell? I don't even think I've seen him in years.
Wasn't he like a NCIS or CSI Miami or something like that?
I think he was on one of those police procedurals, but I don't even think he's done that for a long time.
Really?
That was like a decade ago.
Was it that long ago?
I don't know.
I don't watch much TV, so I watch streaming stuff. So.
Yeah, I don't watch those kinds of shows. I don't really watch like cop shows.
Yeah. Donovan says you need to bring in an established Robin like Damian or Dick, then you can do that.
I'll give you my other hot take. I feel like they should change Dick Grayson's name too. I feel like that. You don't meet many people under the age of 50 who want to be called Dick anymore. I mean, his name's Richard Grayson. Why don't we just call him Rick? Why don't we call him Rick Grayson? It's same name, but just modernized.
I don't know. You'd piss off a lot of people changing his name too.
That's true, but
you would. You'd piss off a lot of people. But we got the legal battles now for Superman has returned. According to Puck News, Joe Schusters Estate refiled in New York State court seeking to block Warner Brothers from exploiting Superman in the UK, Ireland, Canada, and Australia. Warner Brothers has until Friday to answer. A hearing is set for June 4th ahead of the July 11th release of Superman. Okay. Now, I don't know if you remember, but you probably do. Didn't they just do this like a month ago? It was about a month ago, maybe a little less. Mm-hmm. They did. And when they did that, the judge was like, dude, this is not a U.S., this is not a United States issue. So they threw it out. They're like, this needs to be tried in the countries that you're trying to, stop this from happening. So that is really bizarre that they're refiling to try again. I don't think anything's going to come of it. I don't know why they think they're going to get away with it this time. Did they do it in New York last time? I forgot to look at that. Was it New York last time?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're just looking for a payout. Like, I think they know Warner Brothers needs to get this movie out. Like, I think this is just a tactic to try to shake some money out of Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Let's see. This one was in April. Let's see. So this was a federal judge. TKO'd an ambitious effort launched in January. The executor of the estate to stop the release of James Gunn. The action sought damages and injunction for relief of defendants, ongoing infringement in Canada, the UK, Ireland, Australia, and other multinational ownership rights. There lies the global rub for them who has pursued the claims before. The Schusters Estate infringed claims are brought explicitly under laws of foreign countries, not the laws of the United States. The U.S. District Court Judge Jesse Furman in a blunt 13-page order filed Thursday. The court concludes that it lacks subject matter jurisdiction over the case. The case, therefore, must be and is dismissed, Furman adds. Accordingly, the court need not and does not address defendants' alternative argument that the case should be transferred to another federal district. Additionally, given the court's lack of jurisdiction, Perry's motion for a preliminary injunction must be and it is denied as moot. It should be noted that nothing Furman ordered had anything to do with the actual merits of the case, having battled Warner Brothers over Superman rights. Don't be surprised if the tenacious Toberoff quickly files another suit in a state court. So that's what happened. So this was a federal court that they did it in originally. and now they're doing it in state court because that's going to make a difference. Like a federal judge was like, no, they think a state judge is going to say yes. I don't know. Yeah. I think this is just they're like you said, they're looking for a payout essentially. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to go anywhere. And again, what's going to happen is they're going to have a hearing in June. They'll probably do this hearing. The judge will probably, if the judge accepts it, because it'll be probably a preliminary hearing to hear the arguments, he'll decide whether it moves forward or not. If it moves forward, the actual hearing's not going to be for months. So the movie's going to release, and it's going to get released in those states or in those countries regardless. He's not going to put a stop to it. So I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know. But I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to move forward with the case. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, but let me know your thoughts about this in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. One more thing here, pretty interesting, popped up. This was shared by Donovan just a little bit ago. It looks like China is showcasing all the upcoming movies for 2025 from Warner Brothers and others, and not just Warner Brothers, but others. But as you can see right here, it does have Warner Brother Films, and what is there? Superman. So even though China was threatening to like, hey, we're not going to release movies here if you do this stuff, Donald Trump, they're still promoting these movies. So there's a good chance these films, such as Superman, is still on track to release there, which is a good sign. Again, like I said a few weeks ago, China is not as big of a market as it once was. Sure, it's going to make maybe, a decent chunk there, but it's not going to be hundreds of millions of dollars that China brings in. So, maybe 50 million, maybe 60 million, maybe 100 million, but that's China is not that big of a market anymore for movies. I mean, it's just not. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, people that were freaking out about it, even if it doesn't get released there, it's not going to be as damaging as some will make it out to be. But it looks like it might be coming out, so that's a good sign. Yeah. All right. So you got anything else, man? What else do you got? What do you want to talk about?
Nothing really comes to mind. Nothing DC related. I haven't heard anything new. Haven't heard anything new today that I can remember.
Yeah. Now, okay, Zedric Banger brought this up. I know this is typically a DC-centric show on Thursdays, but I figure we'll talk about this because it is pretty big news. I figured once we got finished with everything, we would talk about this. He says, did you guys see the Avengers movies got delayed? Yeah, so it was just announced just a couple hours ago that both Doomsday and Secret Wars got pushed back from their May release dates to December of the same year. So May 2026 is when Doomsday was due to release. It is now going to release in December 2026. And Secret Wars was May 2027, is now December 2027. Now, I think this was pretty much inevitable. They had an ambitious production schedule to get that movie, specifically Doomsday I'm talking about, to get that movie out. I mean, you're talking a movie at that scale, that many cast members, within a year. I mean, you're talking about a year and like 3 weeks when they started shooting that movie. That was ambitious. I don't know why Marvel is so adamant on just like, yeah, 1 year of production, let's go. Like, it's crazy. So I think it was inevitable. But the crazier part about it is once Fantastic Four comes out in July, they don't have another movie. Marvel Studios, that is. Marvel Studios doesn't have another movie releasing until December 2026. Now, Sony Pictures has Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out July of 2026. So that's coming out now before Doomsday. But technically that's not Marvel Studios. It will be partnership with Marvel Studios, but and it's in the MCU, but that's not a Marvel Studios film. So Joe, what do you think about this? Do you think this is a smart move? Do you think it's a shocking move? Do you like this? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think anything that gives you more time is always a good move. You want the best version that you can get. Like, let me give you an example. The Blade movie. Everyone's always like, "Oh, the Blade movie. They're never it got delayed again. It got delayed again." I keep saying, "Good, good." That tells me that something isn't right. The script isn't right. Something isn't right, and they're not rushing a crap film to market. Let them take their time. Let them get it right. If something in Avengers needs more time, and we keep hearing some of the actors they want in the movie haven't signed yet. Like I heard they're still trying to get Tom Holland, and he hasn't signed to be in Doomsday yet. They're filming the movie, and apparently they want him. At least that's what was being reported the other day. I heard that they were like up to the last minute. I don't know if she eventually signed or not, but I know they were trying to get Halle Berry to sign on. So it sounds like, man, you haven't even signed all the cast yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Adding time is definitely the right move to make sure you get a good movie. But I think it was wrong for them to even start shooting this movie before having all the cast that you need, signed. Like, if you don't have the cast signed, why are you shooting this movie? Specifically the main characters. Like, if you have cameo characters, if you have characters that can just pop in and out that aren't going to be like major players, major important characters in the movie that maybe you can find a replacement for, that's fine. But you're talking about Spider-Man, which you probably know is going to be a major player in this story. Like, why would you even move forward? Like, if it's uncertain, because that deal hinges not on Tom Holland and his agent, that hinges on another studio. So that to me is just shocking. Like, that probably wasn't a good move for them, but they were probably rushing because they're like, we need to get this out. We need to get this out, because just lack of preparation, lack of planning. This entire phase, not phase, but saga was just terribly planned.
Well, I half agree with you. I half don't. I think that I'm very worried about Doomsday. I'm a big fan of the MCU. I think Marvel has done a pretty spectacular job. I think some of the TV projects, like Secret Invasion and Moon Knight, have been less than stellar. But more often than not, I think the movies have hit it out of the park. I think the one thing that they really screwed up on is pivoting from Kang. Because in my experience, when you have a plan, when you have a story planned and you deviate from the plan, it doesn't usually end well. And they had a story that involved Kang. Jonathan Majors had trouble. They should have recast the character and stuck to whatever their plan was. Because anytime you're like, scrap it all, rewrite it, I'm not saying it can't work, but history has shown that doesn't always end well. And I'll give you my go-to example. DC Comics 2000, back in 1991, they did a miniseries called, it was a crossover event called Armageddon 2001. And are you familiar with that storyline?
No.
A hero from the future traveled back in time named Wave Rider, and he knew that in 2001, 10 years in the future, one DC hero was going to turn into a supervillain and take over the world. And he was on a quest to figure out which DC hero it was. And he was going around and looking into each character's future to figure out who was going to turn and become a villain. And the end of the story leaked. It was going to be Captain Atom. So the whole story was written leading into Captain Atom becoming the villain. And when it leaked that Captain Atom was going to be the one, they real quick pivoted, and it was Hawk from Hawk and Dove. And it didn't make any damn sense, and the story was garbage. And I'm like, yeah, it sucks. Your story leaked. I agree. It sucks, but stick with it, man, because now we have this garbage ending that doesn't make any sense. So I don't know, but I'll also say, as for starting filming, it might have had to do with schedules. They have an insane cast in this movie.
Yeah.
Like they might have been like, well, we got Robert Downey Jr. these dates. We got so-and-so these dates. They may have had no choice. They may have been like, well, if we want all these people in the movie, we got to start shooting now.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, that's another good point. But again, like you're talking, because of their major pivot to Doctor Doom and getting away from Kang, there's literally no pivot. It was like we saw Kang being built for three projects,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's just Doom.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no pivot. Like what they should have done is said, okay, if we're going to make this pivot, we need to pivot. We need to give 3 or 4 movies to make this pivot, and not just boop, here's Doom now. And that's kind of the problem I have. I just think that this whole multiverse saga. I saw a great TikTok today, and it's I can't remember what podcast it is. It's two nerds. It's a really skinny kid, and he's really weird. They're kind of a big deal, but he made an excellent point that this saga really screwed up with the Doctor Strange movie. Like prior to the Doctor Strange movie, fans were still on board with Marvel. Fans were still there. But Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness really is what started to like it just ruined the MCU for people. And he made a really good argument about it. And when I sat there and thought about it, I was like, he's not wrong.
Does he say why?
Well, he says because Multiverse of Madness should have been, regardless of how you feel, Multiverse of Madness should have been a cameo fest. It should have been, because of what it was built up to be. You said, and I've always said this. I've said this in not the way that he said it, but I've said it like this. I've said it like, okay, you look at Multiverse of Madness, you're calling it a movie, you're calling this movie Multiverse of Madness, and yet you go to 3 different universes. Oh, that's madness. And you have Wanda, who the last time we saw her was kind of like, yeah, I've come to accept my path. Oh, now I'm evil. You know, like they didn't understand the story, that kind of stuff with Wanda. And then they have, yes, variants of characters, but it's just like a very little segment of that. Like he explains, like Multiverse of Madness should have been what Deadpool and Wolverine was. And granted, yes, people don't like Deadpool. I won't say don't like it, but some people will argue that Deadpool and Wolverine was too much fan service. But sometimes you need to do that, you know. And when you're doing a movie that's about the multiverse, you got to do that. And if Doctor Strange was that, because that was setting off the multiverse right there. You know, prior to that, there was like, oh, we're getting into the multiverse. And the first movie that mentions the multiverse, you're just like, here's 3 different universes, and you know, here's John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, and here's some other characters that nobody really cares about. Nobody really like cared. And that's kind of what he explains in a better way than I did here.
That may be true, but it's hard for me to come. That's my second favorite MCU movie post Endgame. So,
and he also mentions the box office, which he makes a really good point with. Is, you know, it made 490 on opening, like 450 or something like that opening weekend, which is a great opening weekend. In comparison, Deadpool and Wolverine did like the same, but Deadpool and Wolverine made over a billion, and Doctor Strange couldn't get $1 billion. So you can see, like, people were excited at first because they hear multiverse. Oh, let's go see all these characters. And then people just fell off because they were like, this isn't what we thought. But Deadpool and Wolverine, people were like, oh, this is great. This is hilarious. This is fun. This is fan service. This is great. So he made that comparison as well. I gotta find it. I'll send it to you and let you.
It's
Because I
interesting
saved it.
because I always say I enjoyed Deadpool versus Wolverine. I liked that movie, but I say it's probably one of my least favorite MCU movies post Endgame, because I felt like the idea of bringing back these actors from previous movies like Elektra and Blade, it felt tired by that point. Like I said, I felt like we had already seen it on the Crisis crossover on the Arrowverse, and then we saw it in No Way Home. Then we saw it in the Flash, Multiverse of Madness, and I'm like, this is just the how many number time that we're seeing them do this? I felt tired of it. I still enjoyed the film, but I felt kind of burned out on the we're going to bring back the actors you've seen before again.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what multiverse is, though. So.
Yeah,
And that's what this saga is supposed to be, and they just aren't doing it.
I'm ready to get out of the multiverse saga. I'm ready for the next thing. So.
All right. Yeah. But that's our little Marvel talk there. There you go, guys. Enjoy it. We don't do it much on Watchtower. Oh, boy. Anyways, anything else? Anybody got anything else here?
I actually have to get going pretty soon, but I'll tell you real quick. I know we haven't had any news on it, but the DC project that James Gunn announced that I'm most excited for is Booster Gold, the Booster Gold TV show. Booster Gold is my favorite superhero. My favorite, I have them within arm's length, but I can't grab them. My favorite comic book run of all time is Keith Giffen's Justice League International run from the late 80s, early 90s. And from what I understand, James Gunn is also a huge fan of that run. And I see, we got Guy Gardner. We've got, we're seeing some of the characters from that run being utilized. So High School Joe is very happy right now, because it's like my everything I wanted to see in a movie in high school, it looks like we're starting to get now.
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting for sure. I'm not extremely well versed in Booster Gold, I'll admit. I know about him. I've read a couple comics. I read a couple Blue and Gold back in the day, but I was always more of Superman, Batman, Flash. I stuck to the bigger comics and then a lot of graphic novels growing up. So I will admit, I'm not well versed in Booster Gold, so I might even know Green Arrow a bit better than him. So
I'll give you a hot take on Booster Gold. The character was created by Dan Jurgens, and Dan Jurgens has written a lot of the Booster Gold comics, but Booster Gold is always at his best when he's written by Keith Giffen, the late Keith Giffen, who passed away about a year ago. God bless him. He used him in Justice League. He did a couple miniseries. Anytime you find, especially if you can find Booster Gold and Ted Kord Blue Beetle together, written by Keith Giffen, that is some great reading right there. Very entertaining stuff.
Excellent. Well, there you go, guys. If you want to read some good comics, there you go. All right. Well, since you got to get out of here, I got nothing else to talk to. This was a fun little episode. Thank you for joining tonight, Joe. That was fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Do it again sometime. Everybody, thank you for watching. Make sure you come back next week. I should have a Monday show. I think I should be good at doing a Monday show. So, so come back next Monday. I know it's Memorial Day in the United States, so we'll be celebrating Memorial Day, but I should have a show on Monday. So come back 8:30 p.m. on Monday for Slav's Free Talk Podcast. Follow me on all the socials. Where can they find you, Joe?
You can find me at Crazy Joe's Concession Stand. I haven't been doing as many live streams lately, but I'm doing a lot of physical media reviews. For example, coming soon, you'll see my review of this new Blu-ray release of Invasion. That was the studio sent me these for review, so I'm behind. I got to review Mickey 17, and I review everything I see out of the theater. You can also find me usually over at Lil Movie Perp's channel, LIL Movie Perp. If you don't subscribe to Lil Movie Perp, I can't recommend it enough. We have some really fun streams over there.
Excellent. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and I